Welcome back to the weekend wrap. No production, just my thoughts. As always, please like and subscribe. Share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated. It's been a pretty long weekend. Boxing aside, it's just been a long weekend. But very, very briefly, I would like to start this just by talking about the Friday night card that took place on Pro Box TV, which was headlined by Lamont Roach Jr. versus Fergal McCrory. I didn't manage to put an actual prediction out for that, but I did predict that Lamont Roach would win. I didn't really go too deep into it, but not only did he win, he got a very, very nice stoppage. Dropped Fergal McCrory 3 times in the bout. The corner waved the flag in, I think it was the 8th round, which was fair because McCrory was taking some really, really big shots in those rounds and too tough for his own good, and was firing back at most points. It's not like he was just taking the beating and then just taking the beating. Like he was taking shots, but he was firing shots back, which was preventing the referee from calling it quits. But it was a good action-packed fight overall. Lester Martinez against Carlos Gongora also was a very, very fun fight. Martinez clear winner. Gongora still showing that he's got an amazing chin, but I don't think he's been that active recently over the last couple of years, and it showed a little bit. Some of his timing was a little off, and he's getting older, which is a shame because prior to the fight with Lerone Richards, Gongora was on a mad run. He was on the trajectory. He was being looked at as a potential suitor to face Canelo Alvarez. So it's a shame to see sort of kind of how he dipped since the Lerone Richards fight. Matchroom, clear they cut him loose at that point. But it is what it is when it stays on, as Eddie Hearn likes to say. Now, from there, I know there was a GBM sports card on yesterday. I wasn't able to watch any of it. Like, I was out the entire day. But from what I heard and what I've heard about the card in Coventry, it did very well. It was well attended. It was a nice little British, all British type of affair. But again, because I didn't see any of the I think the only person I heard about on the card was, I think it was Now Barry, and I haven't seen the fights, so I can't really comment on any of them. But shout out to anyone who was in attendance for the show or who was over there doing media work. I think October Red went over to Coventry, so shout out to her. I did see something she did with Lady Leisha and although Stevens, I think, was the other person. There might have been one other that she did. So go over to her channel, check those out. But let's talk about let's talk about the Teofimo Lopez Steve Claggett fight first, because I guess that's the least consequential one of all the fights that took place. So now I haven't seen the undercard of that also, but I know that Robeisy Ramirez got I think it was a stoppage victory. So I was keen to obviously watch that fight. I haven't been able to see it. It hasn't been uploaded. I may have to go to ESPN Plus and check it out on there. But he's back in the winners column doing what I think their goal is for them to try and face Rafael Espinoza again. And if that's the case, cool. Sounds good, because their first fight to me was definitely a fight of the year contender for last year. Wouldn't mind seeing that again. But Teofimo Lopez versus Steve Claggett. Now, I got the prediction right, which, look, let's be honest, it wasn't a hard prediction to get right. But the method, I did think that Teofimo Lopez would get the stoppage victory, purely because Steve Claggett does everything that Teofimo likes in terms of getting punches off. He's a very come forward, aggressive, going to stay in your face, he's going to chase you around, and he's going to be there to get walked onto shots. And the fight played out exactly as I predicted, in terms of that he would get there, he'd be aggressive, he'd be opening up, but eventually would get sort of timed and caught with a shot. Now, I predicted he'd get caught with a shot initially early, maybe in the 3rd or the 4th round, and then ultimately sort of be in a bit of a survival and get taken out around about, I think, the 8th. I said the 7th or the 8th. Or everything happened except for getting taken out. Now, does this mean that at 140 pounds, Teofimo Lopez ain't got the same power he claimed he had at 135? Is it just a case because these guys are bigger and stronger, they can take more shots? I know Claggett hasn't been knocked out since, I think it was 2013 was his last time he got knocked out. Could be wrong on the date, but he has been knocked out before. So if he was going to get a knockout at 140, this would have been one of the easiest opportunities thus far to do so. And that kind of, to me, suggests there's some issues there, especially if he's going to be up against like the other top guys. Yes, he can outbox them, but if you look at even Teofimo's face in this fight, both of his eyes were puffy. I mean, not badly swollen, but they were both puffy. He had taken some damage and some marks. And from what I can remember, when I was watching the fight, I'm pretty sure that his face looked puffier and more bruised up than Steve Claggett's face did. Again, that's a bit of a damning indictment when this was basically a cherry pick for you to get back into the spectacular knockout realms, and you didn't do it. So I also don't feel as if Teofimo Lopez is looking as impressive. I mean, look, let's be honest, the the Josh Taylor fight, he looked very impressive compared to obviously how he looked with Sandor Martin and Pedro Campa. But then the Germaine Ortiz fight looked, couldn't cut off the ring, couldn't come forward. On this one, he's pretty much on the back foot, having angles, doing what he wants to do, but nothing really seemed that special compared to what he had been doing before. Now, scorecards were, to me, mad, because even though he clearly won the fight, there's no arguments about that. What was it? 2 was 120, 108, and then 1 was 119, 109. I mean, I think Steve Claggett got 3 to 4 rounds in there. 116, 112, 117, 111 is more of a fair reflection in terms of just overall, there was a lot of rounds in there where Teofimo Lopez was not having things his own way, or not having them as much his way as we would have expected. Now, I may rewatch the fight and decide, no, you know what, 120, 108 was fair, but from what I saw, I didn't think he won every single round, like, decisively. And again, sometimes it doesn't always tell the tale, so I don't necessarily always look at it, but facial damage to me and things like that do have a bearing on how a general fight goes round by round, as well as the overall flow. So I'm not complaining. Look, the right person won. They just didn't necessarily win the way I thought they was going to win, and they I thought the scores were majorly biased in their favor, but so it goes. But funny enough, that fight and the Estrada Bam fight, I got them to the other way around in terms of who I thought was going to get the stoppage and who I thought was going to go the distance. But we'll talk about that in a minute. On the undercard of Estrada versus Bam, we go to Jamie Mercado versus Ramela Ali. I got that one right. I did predict that Mercado would win the fight, and I didn't necessarily think it would be due to being maybe a Mexican national, or getting favorable treatment on the a very pro-Mexico crowd and stuff like that. I thought it would be more on the fact of she wouldn't necessarily try to box with Ramela Ali. She would try to sort of rough her up, get on the inside, sort of just outwork her a little bit, where Ramela would probably get off some cleaner work and maybe have a couple of cleaner exchanges here and there, but she would still get hit with shots coming back the other way, but then she would just get hit with more volume. And I feel that when you look at the work rate of the two, Ramela had a lot of clean shots, but Mercado had a lot of shots that didn't look as polished, but looked like they did more damage or had more effect on her in those rounds. There were several times I saw Jamie Mercado hit Ramla Ali, and Ali's legs looked like they buckled or they dipped. I'm pretty sure the judges took a lot of that into consideration, because I did. In the first several rounds, I wasn't actively scoring because I was half asleep. I'm gonna get a proper scorecard together, but those first few rounds, I remember I was watching. I'm like, Mercado's won the majority of these. I think this was up to sort of round 5 when I was first doing it initially. I think I had a like 3-2 up or 4-1 up. And I remember a lot of it was due to she was being a bit more active, a bit more aggressive, throwing more, which obviously I don't always take into account. But the fact that the punches she was throwing looked like they were visibly doing more to Ramla Ali, or Ali on a couple of times. To me, she would, right at the end of the round, she was landing 1 or 2 big shots, or they look big, they look clean and crisp, and they sort of right at the end of the round and the round's over. So that's kind of what you remember. But then that doesn't obviously take into effect some of the body punches that she was taking before that, or the exchanges they had where she had the worst of the exchange, or, Mercado outlanded her in those exchanges. So I had that in my mind as I was kind of going through it. And then when I eventually sort of saw that it was, then I think I fell asleep. I dozed off. Then I saw, obviously, I went back and rewound it without looking at any scorecards from TV or, Twitter or anything like that. And then I saw that she won, and I was like, okay, she must have done what I thought she was going to do, which was outwork her. Now I saw the scorecards in terms of the rounds, like 98, 92, 98, 93, and 97, 93. And 97, 93, I think maybe I can just about see. I would have, if they started off like 97, 94, 96, 94, 96, 95, that to me looked more representative of kind of what I saw. But to me, well, am I going to say the right person won? I guess the person I predicted to win would win. I'm not sure if they won due to being in, sort of maybe home territory or a biased territory for them. I'm not sure. I can't really give that assessment. But what I can say is, from what I saw in the early stages, I feel like they were the better person. And I think Ramla did come back quite strong more in the later half of the fight. So I do think the scorecards were wide. I haven't seen the scorecards yet. I would like to see what rounds were given to Mercado, what rounds were given to Ali. But the fact, obviously, one of the judges, I think, was Victor Lachlan from over here, who is, you would think would be biased towards Ramla Ali, and he had it scored 98, 93 to Mercado. So clearly he, I would, again, if we're going to say there would have been a bias towards the Brit on his part, then maybe what they saw or what we deemed them to have seen was actually correct. But having said that, isn't Victor Lachlan from Scotland? So I guess because she's British, but would have been living in England, maybe the Scots and the English don't have the greatest relationship in that sense. So who knows? Maybe. But that's that one. So shout out to both. Unlucky for Ramla Ali, don't know what she does next, obviously being 34, with Mercado being 26, obviously much younger, and this being Ali's second loss in 3 fights. Not sure sort of what the future holds and if she can bounce back, but I would be interested to see the journey and see how that sort of translates. Then we go to Sonny Edwards versus Adrian Curiel. Now, this fight to me was weird, because I watched this and saw Sonny basically styling on Curiel from round 1 up to round 8, with potentially round 6 and round 6 maybe. Maybe the 8th, maybe part of round 8 as well, were the only rounds I saw Curiel have any success. And I would say maybe, I think it was the 6th round where I could give him part of the round. Possibly the 8th one, because they got stopped in the 9th, I believe. Yeah, so maybe you say round 6 and 8. So 6-2, 7-1 type scenario. in maybe some people's estimation, it was 8-0. And then I saw the scorecards when it ended on the technical decision due to the head clash, which obviously was a very nasty head clash. Now, funny enough, look, the cut itself, where it was, everything, it was not bleeding into Sonny's eye. So even though the team have said, yeah, like, we want to get this called off, he could have quite easily have said, look, or the doctor really, look, it's a bad cut, but it's not bleeding into his eyes. It's not bleeding. I haven't seen, it's not moving. So I'll let it continue for now. And if it gets worse and it starts to bleed out, and then, it impairs his vision or whatnot, then you can stop it. That's normally what you would think would happen at that sort of situation. Because always they look at, is it going to affect visibility? Is it like in a poor area? But because it wasn't bleeding, while it was bad, there was no reason for it to, I guess, be stopped in that moment because it wasn't impairing the vision. That's just how I see it. But feel free to correct me if you know any different in the comments about how that works from a medical standpoint. But it was a bad cut in a very bad location. That is something I will say. And that's probably going to have Sonny Edwards out of the ring at least for the next 6 to 8 months, because the healing, the scarring over, and then maybe the plastic surgery over the top of it potentially, it's in an awkward place that you can't even really protect that good with the head guard either. So, but yeah, he got a unanimous decision. But yeah, those scorecards, one was like 87-85, I think it was like 88-84, and then I think the other one was 80-72 or something like that. No, yeah, what was it? I think one of them was 90-81, something like that, or 89-82. So I can't remember the first card, but I remember those last two, 88-84 and 87-85, which, yeah, to me was way too close for the fight that I saw. But we'll see what happens next with Sonny Edwards, because ultimately he was supposed to face Galal Yafai. That's obviously going to be put on the back burner, so Galal's going to have to get a fight and then another fight, because I'm sure he's going to tell you, I don't want to just be waiting around for 8-9 months now. Like, I want to fight again. So I guess we'll have to wait and see sort of what happens there. Then we go to the main event now. Estrada versus Bam. Again, I predicted Bam Rodriguez to win this fight, but again, I thought it would go the distance. I felt that Estrada, there was a potential that he could obviously get hurt and stopped, but because he'd never been stopped before, and Bam was, again, he is coming up to the weight again, so he was still not kind of natural at 115, and just with the experience and know-how of Estrada, I thought that he would do enough to be able to see the final bell, but that's not the case. This fight went, this ended in the 7th round. Vicious body shot after a headshot that sort of rocked Estrada off, which made him plant his feet. Then you get Bam just turned. He turned on the angle, ripped a shot straight through the liver of Estrada, took him out, and it was just vicious. Now, I actually just saw the scorecards for this. One scorecard had Estrada around ahead. One had Bam, I think two rounds ahead, and the other one had it a draw at the time of the stoppage. Now, the card that was a draw, I can see where they're coming from. I'm not saying I agree, but I can see where they're coming from if you give the first 2 rounds to Estrada. Now, admittedly, I watched the fight knowing what had happened, because again, like I said, fell asleep, but I woke up I'd already seen the end result, so I was just I wasn't really watching it to score it at the time. It's only when I saw the scorecards, I'm like, maybe I might have to go back and do the scorecard for this myself. The scorecard from the Mexican judge, though, that had it, I think, 57-56 to I think he had like 57-56 to one Francisco Estrada. Yeah, that scorecard is mad. Then I saw the rounds that he gave him. He gave him the first 3 rounds. Then he finally was a 10-9, then a 10-8, and then 10-9 the other way. So in the 6th round, instead of giving Bam a 10-8 for getting knocked down, he actually scored it 10-9. I'm assuming, so that definitely means that he believed that Bam won. He won the rest of the round and basically made the point back up, but he still had to deduct the point, so he couldn't give a 10-10, so I had to give a 10-9 in that sense. And that was funny because I saw it when I was watching that 6th round. That's how I thought it was. Bam won the round, but because he got knocked down, you have to take a point off, and because it's a 10-point must system, you've got to give the round 10-9 the other way. But both of the other judges had it as 10-8, which is fair. I'm not saying that was wrong either. But his scorecard, yeah, giving Estrada the first 3 rounds, like that had to have been biased, because, or maybe even biasness towards maybe crowd noise. Again, I wasn't really paying attention the way I usually do, but I know for a fact that what I was watching was not Juan Francisco Estrada winning 3 rounds. If you give him 2 out of the 3, I could potentially see that. But all of those first ones were highly competitive up until, obviously, again, the 4th, where just the fight then basically was taken away from Estrada, where he got knocked down, got back up, managed to sort of survive the rest of the round, did well. 5th round, got himself back together, but it was just like, you know, Bam was just teeing off, just taking every opportunity. It was a very solid round for him. You thought, okay, writing's on the wall. And then obviously Estrada came out in the 6th round and, against the run of play, against the odds, put Bam down for the first time in his career. Like, flash knockdown, more of a balance issue, but obviously Bam did say, no, I did feel, I felt it, and like one moment I'm on my feet, the next minute I'm on the ground, but I got up straight away. Like I shook it off straight away. He's like, I always wanted to feel what that was like to get knocked down, but now I felt it. I don't ever want to go through that again. So yeah, ultimately it was a definitive victory for Jesse Bam Rodriguez. He puts himself higher up in those pound for pound rankings. I'm not sure exactly where I would have him on my pound for pound, but somewhere, I reckon he's somewhere between 5 and 7 for me at this point in time. He's taken out 3 of the old 4 kings. There's obviously only 1 left who he'll never fight, who is Chocolatito Gonzalez. But he's basically gone and cleaned up the rest of them. Now he wants to unify with the winner of Kazuta Ioka and Fernando Martinez, which would be a very interesting fight. But if he can't get that one, especially maybe not next, maybe the best choice would be to try and see if he can get Eddie to get him a Kosei Tanaka fight, so that he can try and get that belt and then bring that into a 4-belt unification at super flyweight. That's pretty much how I saw the weekend as a whole. Like I said, there's some other fights I do want to catch up on, I do want to check out, but at least for the first time in probably a couple of months, where I got every single prediction right. Again, I got method of victory wrong in 2, but I had them the other way around for those 2 particular fights. But overall, getting the winner right is the main thing, I suppose. Unless, well, I say that, but let's be honest, when it's a fight that's supposed to be an 80-20 or a 90-10 in one person's favor, you don't really get the points for that, so you got to get the method. But I'll give myself 3.5 out of the 4 for this week. But that being said, thank you guys for watching. I put this one out late because of the football and because I've been trying to do house stuff and get family business and stuff sorted out. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe and share and all that good stuff. I will catch you on videos that I plan to put out this week. We will get to that shortly, but until then, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Hope you have a great week ahead, and until the next one, peace.